Hi everybody, how is it going? In this tutorial video, I'm gonna show you how to authenticate with emails in the Django application. So basically, in the Django, we use a username to authenticate. By default, instead of using the default username authentication, I will show you how you can authenticate your users with email. So I'm gonna keep this video very simple and very short. Maybe in the next video, I can show you how to completely replace the username and get rid of the username and just use the email. So here I already have a Django project. Uh, it only has one application called users. I'm also including this application here as well. This is actually a Django project I'm working on. But anyway, you don't have to worry about it. Everything we're gonna do in this video has nothing to do with the things I've implemented before. So let's get started. So what you wanna do is come here in the users application and create a class and create the authentication class. So I'm gonna create a new file, name it auth.py. So here it's where we're gonna create our custom authentication. I'm gonna create a class and call it email authentication. This class has to define two methods. First method being the authenticate method. The second one being the get user method. So this is the method that's gonna take in the user's credentials and check if the credentials are correct. So this method would basically take in the request argument and the username. By default, this is gonna be none. And it is gonna take in the email as well and the password. And we can have more key arguments. We're gonna set the user to none. And here I want to return the user. By default, we usually authenticate with the username. So we get the username. If we have the username, we get the user from the username. We need to import the user model from, this is gonna come from Django contrib auth models import user. So here we can get the user objects get username, equal username. A user with this username might not exist, so which is gonna throw an error. We're gonna handle this error if so we need to import this exception from Django exceptions, Django core exceptions import object does not exist, except object does not exist, return none. So this should exit without authenticating the user. Yeah, if we got the user, we have to check if the password is correct. If the user is active, we're gonna get the attribute from this user object, get attribute, our user is active. So meaning if the user is not active, they shouldn't be authenticated. But if the user is active and the password is correct, this is how we check the password. User dot check password, and we pass in the password. If the user is active and the password is correct, we return the user. This should basically authenticate the user, with their username. So to tell our Django application to use this authentication instead of using the default authentication, we need to come here in the setting, the main application, in the settings.py, and come down here. We have to define authentication backend. And this is where we tell our application to use that custom authentication. We define it. So this class is in the users dot auth. That's the name of the file. And then the name of the class itself, which is email authentication. This has to be a list or a tuple. Before I run the server, I also have to talk about this getUser method. This is a very simple method that takes in the user ID and return the user. So what we do is we try to get the user. So objects get primary key using the user ID. I will return the user. If the user does not exist, meaning if the user ID is not correct, we return none. So I will run the server and test this. Sorry, here I made a small mistake. I'm not supposed to. I returned the class itself instead of returning the user. Or maybe I can say just return what you get this way. I already had a super user with the username of admin and password. So when I log in with the admin password 0, I should be able to get in. So you see here I have this super user of admin, and their email is sent to admin@mail.com. So for now, if I log out, I want to be able to log in with this email without using the username. For now, it won't work. But if I come here, so I can get the user either with that username, or so I can use that username to check if the username was actually the username or if it was an email. So, okay, so here we have to check if the username was actually, if the username was actually the username, we can return the user, of course. But also, we also want to check if the email was submitted. In the next video, I will show you how to completely replace the username with the email. But in this case, we will assume that we still have both username and email. So the user can submit email in this case, but here instead I want to do a complex lookup. So I would have to import Q from Django db models port Q. This allows us to do complex lookups. So we can do Q. This is the first query if the email is equal to the username, or if the username is equal to the username, we should return this user as well. So here in the admin panel, if we log in with the username, we should be able to get in. But also, if we log in with the email, we should also be able to get in. So now let's say you are using your own forms and you want to submit email, not the username. So you can come here and say, if you are getting the email, not the username, you can say if email. We can basically do the same thing here. We don't need this here. We just check if we just get the user by email. If there is a user with that email, we check if the user is active, and we check if the password is correct as well. So if it's correct, we turn that user. So this should work. So anyway, that's it for this video. I wanted to keep this video very short. I didn't want to go into details.